Good
Hello,
evening, good
everyone.
afternoon, good morning, whatever you are in the world, or if you're watching this later. Welcome to our BrELT Young Learners and Teenagers Week. If you are a young learners in general teacher, so you're gonna enjoy this event. This event has been um, cared for you, has been developed and organized by the BrELT community with so much love. So we hope you enjoy it. And now over to you, Priscilla.
Hello, everyone. Good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, as Bruno has already said. So we are starting today or tonight with Vinicius Nobre. It's a pleasure. It's really, really nice to have you with us. Really, really, thank you so much for spending this very nice evening with us, sharing. So Vinicius Nobre is a managing partner at Troika. He's an experienced teacher, educator, course book writer, and education manager. He has also published 2 methodology books and is past president of BRAZ-TESOL. So again, thank you so much for being here with us, Vinicius, and over to you.
Thank you, Pri, thank you, BrELT community, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here, and today I'll be talking to you a little bit about rewards. So I need to screen. Let's see if this is. Let's see if this is okay. It's not really okay. Hold on. It was working when I tested. Okay, it should be okay now. All right.
So,
There we go. Is that okay?
yes,
Lovely. Okay.
yes, we can see it.
Okay. So, okay. Well, as I said, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about motivation and especially reward systems. When we talk about young learners, historically, we have been encouraged to reward young learners for what they do. We have been using rewards systematically over the years. I have personally given many workshops regarding, rewards and how we need to acknowledge good behavior, interest, participation with some kind of external rewards. However, the challenge that we are facing today, and this is a big challenge, is that the whole idea behind reward systems seems to be working against us. In general terms, what we have always believed in, the idea that rewards can really help us and that they are very successful, this has been totally debunked. And there is plenty of research today that shows us that reward systems are actually very negative. One of the biggest problems is that we think a lot about kids' attitudes or their motivation as a problem, right? We say that children are not really motivated, that they have attitude problems. However, as much as the world is changing and as much as children have changed themselves, the problem is not only with the attitudes that is different or harder. We also have an issue with our practices and we have issues with our policies. It is really important that we become more aware of the fact that children might be a little bit more challenging today, but our practices and our policies really desperately need to be revisited and changed. Brunner said, and this is not that recent, but he's already said that we want students to experience success and failure not as rewards, not as punishment, but as information. However, a lot of what we do with our students sends the message that their successes will be rewarded and their failures will be punished. And one of the reasons why we educate children to live in a competitive world where they think a lot about themselves and not so much about the community, where they expect to get things in return for what they are doing, is the fact that in education, we have been using rewards and punishments systematically to reinforce the successes, or what we consider to be a success, and to punish failures, or what we consider to be a failure. Let's think about behavior, for example. When we reward a child for successful behavior, we are not necessarily helping them acknowledge the fact that a certain behavior is expected. And we might be conveying the idea that when they do something that is expected, they should expect to get something in return. So they don't process the feedback that is given to them as information per se, but rather they look at what happens in life, their behaviors, their decisions, their attitude. They look at all of this as the source of a reward or a punishment. So let's look a little bit at the reward system that we have used so systematically. As the slide shows there, we have been using the idea of the carrot and the whip for many years. So people will be more motivated when they have an extrinsic factor there, when they are given, for example, a certain carrot. We use this with adults all the time, and we use this with children all the time as well. We offer them something in return for what we expect them to do. However, one of the biggest keys in motivation is the fact that we don't really know what motivates other people. One of the biggest lessons that we can learn from motivation today is that we don't really motivate anyone. We can demotivate people. We can destroy somebody's motivation. However, motivation comes from motive. It comes from a purpose. It comes from something that is deep inside. If I try to guess what it is that gets you going, if I try to identify what reward you would consider interesting enough for you to do something, chances are I'll get this wrong, because what motivates you, the purpose that you have in life, the reason you have to commit to something, to get out of bed in the morning, can be completely different from the reason that I have. And also, if I use rewards for you to do something, for you to commit, for you to get involved with something, these rewards will be sending a very wrong message that everything that we do in life needs to come from an external source, an external reason. When we think about children, and I'm often asked this question, we struggle a little bit to know what their purpose is. Because when we say, you know, motivation comes from motive, it's a reason for you to get into action. When we think about adults, you know, it's a bit easier sometimes for us to think, well, your purpose in life is to change the world, is to create a safe environment for your family. We have more repertoire, more possibilities, more philosophical reasons to do things. When it comes to kids, what are their purposes exactly? The fact of the matter is that their purposes can oftentimes be much, much simpler, and we try to complicate them. Their purpose at the end of the day can be just to be among friends, just to feel respected, just to be a little bit more confident about who they are. So instead of finding external things to justify what they do, our challenge as teachers it becomes actually greater, because we need to get to know them, and we need to know what their expectations are as individuals, however young they might be. One of the things that we know for a fact is that the external rewards, the external factors, aren't really going to work. However, repeated experiences of success will help learners develop higher self-efficacy than when they experience repeated failure. If we think about it, if we think that, you know, being successful is a positive experience, and that we don't need to reward that success because the feeling is positive, you feel that you are more efficient, you feel that you are more able, you're better able to do things. This in itself should be a good motivator. What poses a big challenge to us is the fact that sometimes it is difficult to understand what students understand as experiences of success. Sometimes we are also really worried about the syllabus, about what we have to do, about the content that we have to deliver, that we forget to create opportunities for students to simply be successful in what they're doing. And then we prevent them from feeling more efficient, from developing a sense of self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is an interesting concept that is related to how much you think you can do something. And it's a key component of motivation, because we are naturally motivated when we believe that we can, when we believe in our potential, and we can go beyond the obvious. But it has a lot to do with how much we think we can do something. And we can help our students develop self-efficacy by giving them repeated experiences of success. Ironically, historically speaking, there are many teachers who feel pleasure, maybe, or who think that their role is to make students' lives difficult. So they want students to fail so that they feel that they are learning something. This is extremely negative.
Vinicius?
Yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think your slides are not moving.
Oh, no, I'm still in self-efficacy. Don't worry, Pri.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I thought it was a problem. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. Feel free to butt in anytime.
Sorry, you can continue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the idea of self-efficacy is that we can help students feel more efficient. They feel that they can do something. And giving them repeated experiences of success, not trying to sabotage students, really considering how the environment can be safe and they feel empowered, is a very, very important tool in the process of consolidating motivation. As I mentioned before, we don't really motivate anyone, but we can help motivation blossom in the classroom. And we also have the power to demotivate students. So let's look a little bit at this idea of self-efficacy and repeated experiences of success and external rewards from an experiment. I'll tell you a little bit about the over-justification hypothesis. It is a very interesting experiment that got 51 preschoolers together. The researchers divided them into 3 groups. To the first group, the researchers, and before I forget, all of the 51 preschoolers needed to enjoy drawing. They were all happy drawing. They all liked it. That was the only requirement. I mean, they also had to be preschoolers, of course. So they got the preschoolers and they divided them into 3 groups. These three groups, they received the mission of drawing with different instructions, let's say. And this, Pri, are my slides in the whole screen, in the full screen?
No, it's not full screen.
That's weird, because I don't know how to change this.
It's like as if you were editing them. You probably have to.
Sorry, guys, about that. Okay.
I don't know either how to help you.
It's like I'm editing them. Okay, let me see if I can help you. If I can get this now. Is it better now?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. All right, so you had a teaser of my next slides. Thanks for warning me, Pri. So
no problem.
No, I couldn't see it myself. So all right, guys. So this was an interesting diversion for you. So going back to my over-justification hypothesis, they got 51 preschoolers. They put them into 3 groups. And in the 3 groups, they all liked drawing. they turned to the first group and they said, okay, kids, do you like drawing? And the kids said, yes, we like drawing very much. Would you like to draw? The kids said, yes, of course. And they drew as much as they wanted to. They moved on to the second group. In the second group, they asked the same question. Do you like drawing? And the kids said, yes, we like drawing very much. Would you like to draw? The kids said, yes, please. And they drew. After they finished drawing, they received a little reward. They received a sticker, they received a piece of chocolate, something that, was a reward for the work they had done. In the third group, they asked the kids the same question, do you like drawing? But they asked another question. They asked them, would you like to get a chocolate or a sticker or whatever it is? They offered them a reward for them to draw. And the kids, of course, naturally reacted, yes, we love chocolate, we want chocolate. What do we need to do to get the chocolate? And then the teacher said, well, you have to draw. And the kids naturally drew and received their chocolate afterwards. So 3 groups. The first group, drawing for the sake of drawing. The second group, let's draw, and then we receive a reward. The third group, would you like to get a reward? So please do it. In the first group, months and months later, they went back to check what had happened. They were still drawing. They were still very happy drawing, whatever it is that they were drawing. And when asked, would you like to draw? They immediately responded, yes, please. The second group, however, didn't react with as much enthusiasm, but the differences were minor. Now, the third group, and if you remember correctly, the third group is the group that was offered the reward in order to draw. They said, would you like a piece of chocolate? Yes, so what do we have to do? We have to draw. In this group, months later, when the researchers went back, or the teachers for that matter, went back, they asked the kids, would you like to draw? What do you think their answer was? If you're at home thinking they asked about the chocolate, they asked for a sticker, you're totally right. Certainly, an activity that they would do gladly and naturally because it was over-justified, because the teachers believed that they needed to offer students something for them to be committed, for them to behave well, for them to get involved and engaged, because it was over-justified. The impact was extremely negative. What happened was that expected reward decreased the amount of spontaneous interest the children took in drawing. The children only wanted to draw provided that they were given something. If they were to draw for the sake of drawing, which in the past was a natural thing to do, they wouldn't want to. Those who had previously liked drawing were less motivated once they expected to be rewarded for the activity. Let's think about the relationship between this experiment and our classroom practice. How many times don't we offer students something because we assume that the activity will be boring, because we assume that students are not going to like it, or because we assume that they won't behave? So instead of selling the activity as something that is interesting, that is fun, that is engaging, we offer students an external reward to get them to commit, to get them to be involved in the process. And what usually happens is that students lose interest. They might react positively at first, but in the long term, it's an extremely negative strategy. What is the danger? Hello? We are usually under the illusion that our strategy is working. This is the biggest challenge that we face. We believe that because students react so positively to the chocolate or to the sticker, that our strategy is working. So we feed ourselves this illusion that by offering students a reward, they will be more committed, they will behave better, they will be more involved. But at the end of the day, expecting the reward decreases the amount of spontaneous interest. It is much more effective to get students to be interested in the activity itself, to get students to actually engage because something is fun, for the simple pleasure, the sheer pleasure of doing something, than to create the expectation of a reward. I mentioned the chocolate, I mentioned the stickers, but are there other extrinsic motivators that we use in our classes? Are there other moments in which we are naturally relying to extrinsic motivation to get students to behave, to get students to engage, to get students to do things? The answer is yes. We do this quite a lot. We do this with the sticker charts and the apps, for example, to award points. The sticker charts, if you have heard of this before, you will remember that it's usually like a poster that we have in the classroom, and we give students little stars when they behave. We give them stars when they speak English. In some cases, we remove the stars when they don't. So it's a system that negotiates with students what they are supposed to do by giving them rewards, or by taking something from them, by punishing them. This recent research shows that this is not really effective, that these extrinsic motivators, or these extrinsic reasons, they are only really effective when the activity is not intellectual, and when students are not involved, students or people in general, mind you, this is not only for young learners, as it turns out. When people are involved in an activity that is not intellectual, and when they are involved in an activity that is really short, for a very, very short period of time. If it's a longer activity, if it's intellectual, true motivation will always come from within. The extrinsic motivation doesn't really last. The whole idea of overpraising students, giving them a lot of compliments to justify their involvement, or giving them little gifts, giving them little presents, that's something that also doesn't really last. The idea of threats, which is the other side of the coin, right? We can give them rewards, we can give them threats. The theory is called carrots and whip. And I'll talk about it in a second, how the carrots and the whips actually don't really work. So the idea of, if you don't study, I'll call your mother. If you don't study, you won't get a promotion in the future. You won't get a job in the future. These are all far-fetched ideas to a lot of our students. And in many cases, it might generate an immediate reaction. Students might be maybe a little bit more focused for a while, but it's not true motivation. It's the illusion that we cling to. The same thing will happen with long-term promises. Telling a young learner, people who speak English can get better jobs in the future, or English can change your life. When you travel, when you go to Disney World, or that's, I mean, really something that doesn't truly motivate the young learners. That's not really their purpose. That's not really a motive for them. We are trying to impose a reason to them. We are trying to justify something that should be intrinsic. What are then the drawbacks? What is the negative impact there? Well, there are essentially 7 big flaws in this theory of carrots and whips, giving students an external promise, and also, threatening them for them to do something if they don't. And guys, mind you, this also works for teenagers. This also works for adults. The point is that the carrots and the whips, the chocolate, the little star, the sticker, they eliminate intrinsic motivation. As I mentioned previously, when students are truly motivated to do something, whether it's because they are having pleasure, whether it's because they are spending time with their friends, they are collaborating, they're having fun, they're feeling good about themselves. If the activity generates all of these things, the extrinsic motivator that we put in place will eliminate that. The activity is no longer pleasant. They don't feel necessarily good about themselves. They are just doing it because they want something else. They want something external. Hence, the idea of the theory of carrots and whips will impact performance negatively. Children who did the whole drawing, the over-justification hypothesis that I mentioned previously, the ones who expected the reward, the ones who were expecting the chocolate, the quality of their drawing decreased as well. They were less involved with the quality of what they were doing. They just wanted to get it out of the way. They just wanted the chocolates. They just wanted the sticker. The idea of promising something as well for children to do something will sabotage their creativity. And we know how important it is to develop children's creativity. When we are giving them something in return, they are less creative. They just want to get to the final product, and they completely ignore the process. It also, ironically, affects good behavior. And then you might be thinking, oh, but Vinny, when I use the charts or when I use an app, they behave better. It's a facade that children are putting up in order to achieve something external. That's not true behavior. So much so that the moment you remove the rewards, behavior will go back to its origin. So we are treating the symptom, but we're not really helping them develop overall. They also encourage cheating, shortcuts, unethical attitudes. The moment that you promise something to people and you say that this, whatever they do is going to get them to receive something, they want a shortcut. They want that thing. The pleasure of going through the process becomes less important. And that's when people cheat. That's when people start with unethical attitudes. They start monitoring each other. They start developing a competitive edge. It's an extremely negative impact in the long term. They will also become an addiction. I will only draw if you give me the chocolate. I will only behave if you give me a star. I will only be a good boy. I will only speak English if you do something. And this is not really life. This is not really educating children. Children need to understand that they have their roles, they have their responsibilities, and many times in life, we're going to do some things because we believe in these things, because we like them, or because we have to do them. And we are not going to be rewarded for everything that we do, and we're not going to be punished in order to do something. Sometimes we just do things because they are helping us develop as human beings, because they are fun things, or simply because we have to. And as I mentioned before, the extrinsic motivators, the whip, the carrot, they revolve around short-term thinking. It's something usually very physical. It's something usually very short, very, very fast. So let's think a little bit about the class apps. I don't know about you, but I've been hearing a lot about Class DoJo. And this is my statement. Please ignore Class DoJo. If you're using Class DoJo, do us all a favor and stop using it. There is extensive research that shows how negative Class DoJo can be for the development of children as citizens. The first thing is that these apps, like Class DoJo, they get education wrong. They treat, as I mentioned before, they treat misbehavior as a symptom. For them, when children misbehave, you treat them in isolation and you get rid of that symptom. But as it turns out, the misbehavior is a consequence of a bigger issue. If we are treating just the symptom, we are not really looking at the problem. So in order to get children to behave, we threaten them, or we make a promise of giving their avatar some stars, some extra points. This doesn't allow us to look at the reasons behind the behavior problems. Why is that happening? Let's investigate the problems. Is it because children are too bored? Is it because they're too challenged? Is it because they don't understand the concept of respect? Is it because they don't see a purpose in what they are doing? The investigation process can only happen if we look at the misbehavior as a symptom of something else, and we don't simply want to get rid of the symptom. These apps, they also get the whole idea of motivation wrong. As I've been saying from the beginning of this talk, the whole idea of bribing students, giving them a carrot, a chocolate, a sticker, a little reward, and a threat, all of this goes against the recent discoveries in motivation. The theories behind motivation will advocate for the fact that the briberies and the threats, which is exactly what these apps do, these classroom management apps will do, they are not really focusing on motivation. They are short-term solutions. They are also very inappropriate. Many of these apps are based on exposing kids, and this is not a very good thing. Nobody wants to see their performance or their results being shown to everyone. But many of these apps, they will expose the kids a lot. They will see how many stars they're getting. There will be sometimes even ranks, and kids are exposed. They are being encouraged to compete against each other instead of collaborate with each other. So a fairly challenging issue there. They also encourage the culture of us versus them. There is this power struggle. The teacher has the control and the students are working against the teacher. The teacher is there to simply monitor them and not to talk to them, not as somebody who's there to support them, to give them a safe environment, but as a monitor, as a supervisor, as an authority that needs to rely on an external tool in order to get students to be involved. This kind of app can also be perceived as manipulative. We are manipulating behavior. We are not going to the true source of lack of interest. We're not investigating the issues behind the demotivation. We are just manipulating students so that they pretend that they are interested, they pretend they want to behave, they pretend they want to speak English, and we pretend to be doing a good job. They also tell children that it's okay to be ruled by others. They have to obey blindly because we decide everything as teachers, as grown-ups. And we are sending this message that there is no dialogue, there is no understanding of the rules, there is no negotiation, no awareness raising of why some things are happening. We just rule them with the power. In the long term, and there is a lot of debate regarding the use of these classroom management apps or these other systems that maybe are not technological, but that rely on the same rationale. There is a lot of research that will show how these things can be extremely negative and can really damage the relationship between teachers and students and can prevent children from growing up as more responsible, aware citizens. So if you are using apps like this, like Class DoJo, or if you are using stickers with the boards and sticker charts and things like this, I would really like you to encourage you to rethink a little bit this practice. We all change all the time, we change our practices, and maybe this is a good moment for us to rethink a little bit some of the reward systems that have been implemented and that have been going on for a long time. Sometimes we just feel that we have to use them because everybody's using them. And we see the immediate reaction and we forget to analyze in depth whether this immediate reaction, the immediate behavior, the immediate involvement of students is something that is really positive in the long run, or if it's a symptom that is being treated when the actual cause of the problem is being ignored. And in a situation like this, it's just natural that some kids will feel threatened. And if children feel threatened, if children feel insecure and lack a sense of personal competence, this acts as a barrier to creativity. This acts as a barrier to learning. By building up children's positive self-esteem through recognizing their individual strengths, valuing their contributions, respecting divergent views, and establishing a classroom community in which collaboration and interaction are the norm, children are likely to engage in the kind of fluent and flexible thinking, as well as the willingness to take risks that characterize creativity. As I have already tried to show you today, all of the reward systems that we are so familiar with, giving students chocolate, giving them rewards, giving them stickers, using charts to manage the classroom, they will all lower students' willingness to take risks, for example. They will be causing a negative impact in their creativity. And at the end of the day, we will be encouraging kids to feel threatened by the system that we are using to control them and manipulate them. This is a barrier that will impact their learning process negatively in the long run. What we need to do is to help children feel positive about themselves. We need to make them feel stronger as individuals, not because there is an external promise, but because they can find within themselves the inner strength to feel that they are more efficient, to feel that they have the self-efficacy that I mentioned previously to do things. We need to value their contributions and allow them to make mistakes and allow them to misbehave, because the misbehavior is actually sending us a message that sometimes has to do with our own practice. Sometimes the misbehavior is their way of communicating that the lesson is not catering for their needs. The lesson is a bit boring. The lesson is a bit too challenging. And if we use systems like this, we are encouraging children to do exactly what they are told. And we are not really encouraging divergent views. We're not really encouraging a sense of community, but rather a competitive environment at the end of the day. So what are the 3 points that we want to help children develop? We want for us to achieve true motivation. If we can't, I mean, you can do whatever you want to. It's your classroom at the end of the day. But if we don't want to use rewards, if we don't want to use the charts, and we don't want to use these external promises and threats and carrots and chocolates and so on and so forth, what do we need to go for? We need to focus on autonomy. Individuals are naturally motivated when they are autonomous, when they have choice, when they feel that they are developing independence, when they feel that they can do things by themselves and for themselves. This really motivates people to engage and to be focused. It is also important to help them feel that they are mastering something. Kids are eager to learn, and so are adults. But with children, their brain is just thirsty for knowledge. Instead of having to justify the learning itself, if we can make the learning become fun, and they feel that by learning they are mastering something new, that they will become more empowered human beings, that they will have the chance to do things that before they were not able to do. The mastery itself can be a true motivator. This is also true for teenagers and adults. And above all, if we understand their purpose, what is it exactly that they want? What is the reason for them? It can be spending time with their friends. It can be being liked by others. Maybe they want to be respected by their teachers. Maybe they want to develop friendships. Maybe they're just very lonely and they want to have a nice group of friends to hang out with. Maybe they want to find the love in the classroom that they don't have at home. These can be their purposes. Maybe they are not as philosophical or as well developed or elaborate as adults. Maybe they are a little bit more naive, let's say. Maybe they are purposes that children would have to go to school, to be together, to be in collaboration, to be engaged. But if we investigate what their purposes are and whether we're catering for these purposes well, we will be better able to understand their levels of commitment, their behavior, and the classroom will be managed much more positively. So purpose, mastery, and autonomy are the 3 key words when we think about motivation. It is no longer rewards. It is no longer the threats. It is no longer the carrot and the whip. You do something in order to get something else. Your actions are conditioned to my evaluation. No, this is old. This is old school. It doesn't seem to be working. We just need to look around and see how the generations who were educated like this behave. They all want to know what will be in something for them. Why am I going to get involved with this? What is in it for me? What do I get from it? What is the reward that you're going to offer me? People have a real hard time doing things just because it's the right thing to do. People have a real hard time doing things just for the pleasure of it, finding the pleasure, the satisfaction in activities without having to think about the final product, but really enjoying the entire process. It's all about the grade that I'm going to get, the certificate that I'm going to get, being the best student and beating somebody and being the winner when others are losers. This is an environment that is not safe for children. Doesn't encourage creativity, that doesn't encourage mutual respect and valuing. So if we can rethink a little bit the way that we engage and the way that we manage discipline in our classrooms by focusing on developing autonomy, getting them to understand that they are mastering something, their cognitive skills, the language, their communication, and helping them find that purpose and respecting that purpose. We will be truly helping kids and children become better human beings in the future. Because at the end of the day, one can look back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, the ones with the knowledge, the ones with the skills, the ones who impress us because of how much they know. But it is with gratitude that we look back to those who touch our human feelings. And true motivation is really about touching our human feelings. The moment I give you an external reward and I condition your behaviors and your engagement to that present that I'm promising that you're going to get, this doesn't really touch your human feelings. But when I identify your purpose and I help you master something with autonomy, that is when I touch your human feeling. So a positive learning climate in a school for young children is a composite of many things. Creating a positive learning environment can be really challenging, but it's above all an attitude that respects children. It is a place where children receive guidance, encouragement from the responsible adults around them, not control or grades or rewards. It is an environment where children can experiment and try out new ideas without fear, without the fear of failure. They want to take risks. It is an atmosphere that builds children's self-confidence so that they dare to take risks. This is learning. This is education. It is an environment that nurtures a love of learning, not a demand of learning. You have to learn because you are going to get a grade. You have to learn because you're going to get a star, a chocolate, or whatever. No, you need to love learning. You need to love becoming better at something. You need to love the fact that you're developing into a more complete human being. It's not giving children more that spoils them, guys. It's not, the love that we give or even the sticker or whatever. It is giving them more to avoid confrontation. So when we give children a sticker, when we give them a chocolate, let it be because we just want to give them something, not because we are avoiding the confrontation of the discipline problems, not because we are avoiding the confrontation of having a serious investigation about why it is that they are demotivated, why it is that they are not involved in something. The confrontation can be really healthy. It's part of the learning process. If we give children something to avoid that confrontation, we're just pretending that we're controlling them. And at the end of the day, we are truly spoiling them, and they will suffer a lot as adults. So let's give them as much as we want. Let's give them the chocolate. Let's give them the stars and the stickers, but not as a bargaining tool, not as bribery, but rather as love, just helping them feel loved, feel empowered, feel that they are getting to their purpose, mastering something in an autonomous way. So thank you very much, guys. This is a little bit of what I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you for this talk. I loved it.
Thank you, Pri.
It was awesome because, well, I teach young learners and sometimes we struggle with some things, and it was just perfect. You just talked like I felt you were talking to me. It was really, really good.
Can you see me? Am I back?
Well, sorry?
Am I back? Can you see me?
Yes, yes. Can you see me?
Yes, I can. Yes. Thanks
okay.
For back. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. It was great. And you were not just talking to me. Apparently, you were talking to a lot of people because we have some questions.
Okay.
Let me see. So we have Lu Badra. And he or she asked, do you believe children want to be part of their community, to feel connected, to belong, and that is why nowadays all researches show that reward systems are really negative to children?
Absolutely. As human beings, we have an intrinsic desire to belong. We want to be accepted. We want to fit in. And we encourage reward systems. When we encourage people to do something to get the reward, it's just natural that we will compete against each other, because I mean, how many rewards are you going to get? If everybody gets it, it's not a reward anymore. So we're really competing against each other, when at the end of the day, what comes from within is the desire to be loved, is the desire to fit in, it's the desire to be accepted. So we might react naturally to the rewards that is being offered, because it's an immediate reaction. We have that urge to get the reward, but it destroys the intrinsic motivation. And then when people, tell me, oh, this is not true. I mean, I don't want to belong. I don't want to fit in. The only thing that I read from that message is that, the system has already done its work with you. Because as a child, you probably wanted to fit in, and then you were forced to believe that you don't have to. You were forced to believe that you don't want to be loved and you don't want to be accepted, because if you get that money, if you get that promotion, if you get the car, you will be a better person. But at the end of the day, when we are children, all we really want to do is to feel part of a community. And that's why bullying is such an issue. Because when you're bullied, you're getting a message: you don't belong here. You're not part of this community. And I think that bullying is one of the many symptoms of a society that has believed in the reward system for so many years.
Yeah, I agree completely. We have some more questions. Let me see. Lu Badra, again, she has another question. Let me just find it. It's a lot of comments. Your talk was a total success. Everybody was watching it.
I didn't read the comments, okay? So I'm very curious, just so that you know, comments, because I don't have access to
a lot
the
of comments. Yeah, everybody was very engaged. So Lubada, she asked again another question. Can you talk a little more about encouragement versus praise and rewards?
Yes. Encouragement, it has a lot to do with verbal persuasion. It has a lot to do with tapping students that you believe that they can do. It's identifying their inner strengths and making them believe that they all have skills that are worth sharing. They all have their talents. They all have their own gifts. Sometimes we think that to encourage children, for that matter, we need to give them something to show them that we're encouraging them, when in fact the encouragement comes from helping them find within themselves the strength and the power and the to be independent human beings. So when we give them a gift, when we give them something external, the message that we are conveying is that they don't have it within themselves. They need something else. And that's why they grow up to be adults who are constantly thinking about how much money they're going to make, how many promotions they're going to get, how they will do better than others, how they can be smarter than others and outsmart the other ones. And they end up developing a sense of selfishness rather than community. So encouragement involves really helping children look within themselves to feel that what they have is worth it, and not giving them the idea that they need external validation in order to control the events of their lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thiago, are you with us?
Hey there, yes I am. Can you all hear me and see me?
Yes. Yeah, not seeing you, but can hear you.
Good. So Vinny, I have a question. Just got here, but I have a question from the audience. Fabiana asked, how can we deal with that typical response from students? But the previous teacher used to give us games all the time. He used to give us candy all the time when we got the right answer. So how can we deal with that?
That's the $1 million question, because when the entire system relies on the concept that we need to give students something to get them to be motivated, to get them to be engaged, it is difficult to be the different one, right? But I truly believe that when you help students feel that they are mastering something, and you provide them with a lot of opportunities to have fun and to collaborate with each other and to develop the group cohesiveness and the happiness of being together, they end up forgetting the candies. They end up forgetting the things. if you think about it, we are very similar as adults. I mean, what does it take to encourage our colleagues, for example, to do something without expecting something in return? As adults, we always ask, but what is in it for me? I mean, because in my previous job, if I did this, I would get a raise. If I went to a training session, I would get paid for it. When exactly does the magic happen? When do we change that? It's usually when we find a purpose in what we are doing, and we feel that that activity really, really helps us master something in an autonomous way. So if we can help children feel that their purpose in being there is being respected, and that purpose has a lot to do with being part of a community, being having a happy moment, helping each other, and this is helping them master something and develop autonomy. This will eventually fade away. They will eventually forget about the candies, because, you know, at the end of the day, they go home and they get the candies, but they can't find the happiness of belonging to a group at home. So the price that we will have to pay for forgetting about the candies is a very, very low price, because they will be getting something much better in return, and something that only the teacher and the school and the environment can give them. The candy can be found anywhere. They can buy it if they want to, but being part of something bigger, feeling that their purpose is being respected, that they are mastering something, nobody can offer this to them at home.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's easier said than done, okay?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. It can be very challenging. It's not something, yeah, let's do it. It demands a lot of focus and a lot of drive to work against the system.
Yeah. And we have one last question. What would be a motive for a 5-year-old? This is from Isabella.
I think that when they are that young, their motives are much more spontaneous. They're very, very intrinsic. They are very raw in a way. It can be, for example, a motive can be being loved, as I mentioned, by my friends. If I come to school and I'm loved by my friends, I want to come back to school. Or sometimes the motive can really be having fun. And, you know, if I am laughing and I'm doing something that I really like, that's a reason for me to go to school. That's a reason for me to get out of bed. But think about it, and think how fascinating this is. In our system, we keep bombarding this. So, you know, we go to school, and then the message that we tell children is like, stop talking to your friends. You can't work with your friends. You have to work with somebody else. School is a serious place. You have to focus. You have to be quiet. You have to do this. You have to do that. And then, of course, we need to give them a reward, because the entire process is terrible. I mean, it's boring, it's painful. It's my purpose, which is to be a happy child, is not really being respected, because I have so many things to do. I don't have time to play. I don't have time to be with my friends. So then the compensation is, okay, so I'll give you something if you do it. But at the end of the day, their purposes, the motive that they have to act, the motive that they have to participate, to engage, are usually much simpler. They want to be loved. They want to be understood. They want to be heard. They want to have fun and laugh. And, you know, sometimes we are so overwhelmed by a system, by a society that expects us to give them content and memorize lists of words and, you know, produce and have 5 million activities. That, you know, that purpose that they have that seems quite simple is not being respected anymore. And then, as a strategy, we give them the rewards. So I think that these are some of the purposes that a 5-year-old can have. But, you know, I don't think, and, you know, the research that I've read and that I believe in, they also agree with me. I don't think that you develop a purpose when you are 20, when you are 30. I think that, you know, we exist, and as human beings that exist, we all have a purpose. And sometimes we lose the simplicity of our purposes because of all the external factors. And then we, somewhere along the line, we lose that purpose that was so obvious once, and we get depressed and we get demotivated ourselves, and we don't even know why. but the purpose can be as simple as, you know, being accepted and loved.
Yeah. Wow, that was really good. I really loved your talk and the question and answers and everything. It was really, really nice. And thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Any last comments? Any last things you want to say?
Me? Yes, thank you. I love the work you do. I love BrELT. I think that
We love you. It's mutual.
Thank you. And I think that what you do is a lesson on motivation, because I think that you are all extremely blessed to have found your purpose, and what you do allows you to master your practice even more, and you are totally autonomous in what you do. You are living proof of what motivation truly is, and you're not getting paid. You're not getting any, you're not doing this for the sake of a reward. If we can get everyone to, you know, be as passionate as you guys are for what you're doing, just because it's connected to your purpose, your existence as a professional, as a human being, and you are constantly, you know, mastering new things in an autonomous way. This is how wonderful the world would be. You know, the world could be a BrELT community. So if we can spread the word and we can get everyone to forget a little bit about, you know, doing something because I want to get something else, or having to offer people something to do because I don't want to look at their purposes. I don't want to investigate that. I don't want to find out why you are demotivated. It's better to offer you a raise, for example. Then we will, I believe we can have a much, much better place to live in. And I'm spitting all over my computer now.
Okay, so thank you again. And for everyone waiting for the certificates, I'm going to share my screen now with the link for you to get your certificates. And you are going to have 30 minutes to register to get your certificates. This is the link. Is everybody seeing? Thiago, can you see it?
Yes, bit.ly/BrELT YLT Week 2018 certificate.
Yes. So you all have 30 minutes. The link closes in 30 minutes. Okay. So that's it. It was a lovely evening with Vinicius and Thiago. And thank you everyone for staying with us for this hour in learning and sharing about teaching English and our passion for this community that BrELT is. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vinicius, again.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone. And just before you all go, remember that tomorrow, on the 20th, we're going to be here with Juan Hayes Lopez. He's going to give us a wonderful webinar entitled, "What is that you crave as a young learner's teacher?" So don't miss it.
Okay, see you all tomorrow for our talk, okay? We have more talks tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.